We continue now at the top of Daf Tazayin Amud Aleph and Meseches Sukkah. This is Sukkah Daf 16a. On the previous Amud, the Gemara had brought a statement of Rav Chanan Amar Rebbe, Rav Chanan in the name of Rebbe, and the Gemara wanted to know where he said that statement. And the Gemara now says he said it on the following Mishnah in Meseches Kalim. The Mishnah says, Mita mitamas chavila umitaheres chavila. When you have a bed, so if it's all one unit, it's all put together, so then it can become tameh, and then it can become tahar. Rashi says chavila biyachad. It's all one unit. Umitaheres chavila imtameyohi. Let's say it's already tameh. Ein tevila ola lo evarim evarim. You can't dismantle it and put it in piece by piece in order to make it tahar. Ela mesakna umatvila. You got to take the whole thing and immerse the entire thing. Meaning it's only really a kli as one unit. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. That's Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. The Chachamim say, metames evarim umetaheres evarim. Even if you take it apart into different components, it can become tameh, those components, and you can be metar, you can purify it, each part, one part at a time. And so the Gemara now says, my nihu. What are we talking about? How are you dismantling this item that the parts are still considered kalim? It has to be, again, in order to become tameh, it's got to at least still be considered a kli. It's got to be a vessel. So how are you taking this apart that it's still considered to be a kli? And so here's Rav Chanan Amar Rebbe. Here's where he makes the statement. Amar Rav Chanan Amar Rebbe. Rav Chanan says in the name of Rebbe, Arucha ushtei kirayim. The case could be if you have the long board of the bed with two of the legs, and kitzaro ushtei kirayim. It could also be the shorter board of the bed and two of the legs. And the Gemara says, Lamai Chazia, what is this fit for? How can you use this item? Gemara answers, Lemismechinu aguda ulemesa valayu. You can lean it against the wall and you can sit on it. Umishte ashli, and you can put ropes. You can put ropes on it. Rashi over here explains, Lemismechinu aguda lekarvan etzel hakosel harachav kemo rochav mita. What you do is you bring it close to the wall, a wall that's as wide as the bed itself. V'nosen eitzim min hakirayim v'lakosel, and you put some wood from the legs to the wall, lamar shosel, lamar glosel, by the area where the head's going to be and where the foot will be. Umishtei ashli v'nosen chavolim, you take some ropes and you put some ropes. Umisrag uruya lemishkav umitame medris. In such a situation, you'll be able to lie down on it, and that's why it's going to be mitame medris. And the Gemara continues, Gufa, returning to the statement we had above. Amar Rabbi Ami bar Tevyume, Rabbi Ami bar Tevyume says, Sichacha b'veloi kalim psula. Let's say a person takes worn-out kalim, worn-out garments, and uses that as schach, it's going to be puzzle. The Gemara says, My beloi kalim, what does it mean, worn-out garments? Amar Abaya says, Matzlonios, it means fabric, pads, she'ein b'hem shalosh al shalosh, which are not even 3 by 3 etzbos, the lo chazion, lo la'aniyim, v'lo la'ashirim. They're not fit to be used for poor people or for wealthy people. They're not fit for anybody. And again, the idea is, even though these pieces of cloth are too small to be makabel tumah, since they come from kalim, therefore they're not allowed to be used as schach. And the Gemara continues, Tanya Kivasei de Rabbi Ami bar Tevyume. We have a brisa that supports Rabbi Ami bar Tevyume's opinion. Again, that if you have baloi kalim, these pieces of cloth that are so small, they're not makabel tumah, still it's puzzle. The brisa says, Machzelas shel shifa v'shel gemi. Let's say you have a mat, and the mat is made out of various kinds of vegetation, like papyrus or reeds. So shiref, you just have a remnant of it. It gets much smaller. Even though it is smaller from the shear required to makabel tumah. So even though it's not makabel tumah, ein mesachin bohen, you're not allowed to use it for schach. As Rashi again over here says, ein mesachin hoel umikli ka'asu, since it comes from a kli. Utchilasa haisa mekabeles tumas mishkav hazav anida. In the beginning, it was mekabel tumah when a zav or when a nida would lay upon it. Therefore, it continues to have that status, and it cannot be used as schach. And the brisa continues, Machzelas hakonim gedola. If you have a mat of reeds that is large, Rashi over here says that's too large to be used, let's say, for sleeping on, for laying on. It is generally used as roofing material. So then mesachin, but then it could be used for schach. But katana, but if it's small, which again is something that's going to be used to lie upon, so it has the status of a keli, ein mesachin, but then you're not allowed to use it as schach. Rabbi Eliezer says, Afhi mekabeles tumah v'ein mesachin ba. Even that is mekabel tumah, and you're not allowed to be mesachich with it. Meaning, even in a situation where the machzeles hakonim is large, it's still mekabel tumah, and you're not allowed to use it as schach. And the Gemara continues that the two dots, quoting the Mishnah, hachotet begadish, it said if you carve out a hollow area in a pile of grain, that is not going to be a good sukkah. And the Gemara says, Rav Huna says, Lo shanu elo she'ein sham chalal tefach b'meshech shiva. This is only true if you have a situation where there already wasn't airspace, the height of a tefach, with the dimensions of 7 by 7 tvachim, meaning you didn't already have this functioning as a roof, as an area that's already been hollowed out. Aval yesham chalal tefach b'meshech shiva. But if you have a chalal tefach, you have an open space, 1 tefach in height, and it is 7 by 7 tvachim, which is the minimum size of a sukkah. Hareza sukkah that is considered to be a sukkah. And Rashi over here explains, Elo she'ein sham chalal tefach gova b'meshech orech v'rochav shiva tvachim kashir sukkah. If you don't have that height of a tefach within a size of 7 by 7 tvachim, v'achrach higdash kol hagadish, and now you're hollowing out the entire thing. There was nothing that was empty before. Aloso chalal da'achshav nasa shem schach me'elav. Now you're basically creating schach. There was no schach before. V'lohayel of shem schach me'tchila. Then already you have a problem of tasav v'lo menasui. Avalim yesham chalal tefach oelhu. But if you already have a chalal tefach, it's an oel. Nimsa shem schach aloso gadish. So now that gadish is already called schach. It already had a roof. When you're carving it up so that it should be the minimum height of a sukkah, so in that case you're just really raising the walls. That you want it to be 10 tefachim high, the minimum height of a sukkah. So that's not creating the schach. The schach's already there. You're actually creating the walls. You're only fixing the walls. By the walls, we don't say tasav v'lo menasui. It's no different than if you have a sukkah that is less than 10 tefachim high, and then you carve out the bottom, you carve out the floor in order to make it 10 tefachim high. In this case as well, it would be good. So that's what it says over here. Again, in a situation where yesham chalal tefach meshach shiva, it's going to be fine. And the Gemara says, Tanya namihach, we have a brisa like this as well that supports Rav Huna. Hachotet begadish lasos lo sukkah hareza sukkah. It says in the brisa that if you carve out a hollow space in the pile of grain, it is a good sukkah. V'anon tanan ain't a sukkah. So didn't we learn in our Mishnah it's not a sukkah? Elalav shma mina kid Rav Huna shma mina. So you see from that brisa, like Rav Huna said, there are cases where it would be a kosher sukkah. The Gemara says, Ika durami le'mirma. Some people have it as a contradiction between the Mishnah and the Brisa that's resolved. Tanan hachoted v'gadish lasos lo sukkah in a sukkah. Our Mishnah says it's not a sukkah when you carve out the hollow space. V'atanya harezu sukkah. The Brisa doesn't. The Brisa say it is a good sukkah. It's a contradiction. And in this version, Rav Huna answers the contradiction. Amar Rav Huna says, Lokash is not difficult. Kan b'sheyesham chalal tefach meshach shiva. In one case, you already have an opening the height of a tefach, so schach is already there. It's not a situation of tasav v'lo menasui. Kan b'she'ein sham chalal tefach meshach shiva. In the other case, you don't have that height of a tefach. It's not already an ohel, so therefore it's going to be a problem to carve out the space. And the Gemara continues with a Mishnah, Hameshalshel, Defanos, Milmalo, Lamata. Let's say somebody constructs the walls from the top down. Im Gavoa min ha'aretz shlosha tvachim. If the walls stop 3 tvachim or more off the ground, psula, then it's going to be puzzle, because again, then the animals can just easily come through under the wall. It's not considered to be a real wall. Milmata lamala. Now, if a person builds it from the bottom up, so im gavoa asar tvachim ksheira. Once the wall is 10 tvachim high, it's kosher. The wall does not need to reach all the way up to the schach. Rabbi Yossi says, Kashem shemilmata lamala asar tvachim. Just like when you're building the wall from the bottom up, it just has to be 10 tvachim, and that's the only requirement. Kach milmala lamata asar tvachim. So too, if you're building it from the top down, as long as it's 10 tvachim, it doesn't matter how high off the ground it is, it's still going to be kosher. And the Gemara says, B'mai komiflagi. What are they arguing about? Meaning, what is the Tanakama and Rabbi Yossi arguing about in our Mishnah? The Gemara explains, Mar Savar, one holds mechitza teluya materes, that when you have a mechitza that is hanging, similar to this case, you have the mechitza built from the top down, and it doesn't go all the way to the ground, that's okay. Umar Savar mechitza teluya ena materes, the other one says a mechitza teluya is not matir, it's not considered a mechitza for this purpose. So the Gemara continues, Tanan Hasam, we learned over there in the Mishnah, this is a Mishnah in Erevin. The Mishnah says, Bor shebein shtei chatzeros. Let's say you have a pit that is between 2 chatzeros, 2 courtyards. Rashi over here explains, Bor shebein shtei chatzeros, chetzio b'chotzer zu, v'chetzio b'chotzer zu. You have half of the pit is in one chotzer, in one courtyard, half is in the other courtyard. U'mechitza bein hachatzeros. There is a wall between the 2 courtyards. U'mehaleches u'teluya al pi habor, and it goes over the pit. V'ein pesach beinayim la'arev zuim zu. There's no door between the 2 chatzeros, so they can't make an erev. So you have a situation over 2 chatzeros, they can't make an erev with each other, and there's a wall that's running over the pit. And so the Mishnah continues, Ein memalin mimena b'Shabbos. You're not allowed to fill up from that pit on Shabbos. Unless you make a mechitza that's 10 tvachim high, bein milmala, bein milmata, whether above, whether below. Rashi will explain that. Bein besoch ogna, whether it's within the pit itself. And Rashi over here explains, neither courtyard is allowed to fill up from the water, because it's really like you're taking, the water goes from one courtyard to the other. It's all mixed up. It's really like you're taking from one courtyard to the other courtyard on Shabbos with no eruv. Bein milmata samach l'mayim. Milmata means you built the wall near, as long as you have a wall built milmata, meaning down by the water, near the water. Bein mitoch ogno means kalamar bein milmala rachok min hamayim. Even if the wall is very far from the water, uvilvad shetei besoch ogen shalbur. What the Mishnah means is, as long as it's actually in the pit itself. It can't be just on top of the pit. That wall will not work. But as long as it's in the pit, it doesn't matter if it's milmala, meaning far from the water, or milmata, very close to the water. Demucha milsa dvishvil ogen hamayim nasis. The point is, it has to be clear that this wall was constructed for the pit. A wall that looks like it's constructed just for the yards, for the courtyards, happens to be running over the pit, is not sufficient. They explain in Erevin the reason why this is okay is because a hanging mechitza works by water. It's a leniency by water. Avol mechitza chotzes es achatzerus u'mahalachas al pi habor shelo nasa b'shvil hamayim. Just again, like we said, the wall that's just running over the pit that wasn't made for the water, ein amateris, that's not good. Te'ein mechitza tluya materis b'mayim el hanasis b'shvil lahater miloi hamayim. When we say mechitza tluya works by water, it's only if it was made for that purpose, to fill up the water from the pit. We have a similar case over the sea, where you have these mechitza tluyas that's not be'ervin dosel mechitza tluya kagon zu shebesoch ogen habor. So in those types of situations, you can use this mechitza tluya when it's mayim, because again, there's a leniency by water. And the Mishnah continues, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video, on Daf Zayin Amud Beis.